All right, so I'm going to tell you the secret to how to stay disciplined when you're programming. Are you ready for this? It's going to be the most boring and least flashy answer possible. You have to work at it. That's it. I'm sorry. That's the answer. You have to actually work at it. I will tell you some tips I've learned on how to work at that, but you have to put the work in, and it kind of sucks, and that's just what it is. So this is a question I've gotten before, which is, Dave, how do you have the discipline to program? What do you do? And the discipline to program is no different than the discipline to do anything. How do you have the discipline to, work every day? How do you have the discipline to stick to a diet if you so choose to, or stick to a workout plan? How do you have the discipline to make content? It really is the same. And discipline is one of those things that you don't just have, you learn. It's a skill, and you practice it and you get better at it. A lot of people do this thing where they conflate discipline and motivation. Motivation is easy, but it's fleeting. Motivation you can find anywhere. Especially if you're watching this content online or you're browsing social media, you will find motivation everywhere. In fact, maybe even some of my videos are motivating. You watch me teach you a new concept about Bash, you're like, this is awesome, I can't wait to use the shell. And then in a couple hours that fizzles out. And if you don't have the discipline to sit down and practice the stuff that I show you, I'm not judging you, but if you don't have the discipline to do that, you're not going to retain what you learned. That motivation, you can think of it like your short-term memory, and discipline is like your long-term memory. Motivation is short-term, discipline is long-term, okay? Motivation is a bright spark. It explodes, it's a firework, and then it's gone. But discipline is that engine that purrs, that runs, that's a consistent size flame. It's not an explosion. It's not the engine exploding. No, it's running consistently, and it will run for the long haul. That's what discipline is. So there are a couple tricks, obviously, when it comes to like working out or doing any sort of routine. Routine is one of the best things to do. If you want to have the discipline to finish a programming project, you probably should have a set time where you program or a set place where you program. You have to find what works with you. Obviously, everyone is different when it comes to this, but maybe having an office or a desk where you like to work can help you get into that mindset. Once you get into the mindset, that's like 99% of the problem, because you probably enjoy programming. I enjoy programming, or at least you don't hate it. Sometimes you do, but I mean, sometimes you hate the video games that you play, but you still like playing video games. It can be frustrating, but it can be rewarding. That's what I'm trying to say. So maybe you have a place that brings that out. You have like an office or a desk. For me, I don't. That's not what works for me. For me, it's all in my brain. I can just flip it on. But that's because I've practiced it. One of the things that helped me is I've been working from home for over a decade now. So I had to get good at that. Like, I had to if I was going to function at my job. Otherwise, I was going to get fired. So I kind of got thrown in the deep end, and I learned how to swim. But for other people that might be struggling with it, I'm going to try and teach you and give you some tips that could help you swim. So finding a place could be helpful. If not, finding a time is helpful. A lot of people like to set aside a specific time. This works for me when I'm practicing an instrument. If I'm practicing piano, I will set aside 20 minutes. It's only 20 minutes, but I will set a timer for 20 minutes, and then I'll go sit in front of the piano, and that is all I'm allowed to do. And that works. That works for me. And you think it's kind of weird, right? That's a creative endeavor, and I have to completely time box it and pull all of my analytical ability to allow myself to be creative. But that works for me. So maybe that could work for you. Timing or place or anything like that. You need to find something that gets you into the right mindset to remember what motivated you in the first place, even though it's not going to be there. You're not going to have the feelings of motivation. You're going to remember, oh, I did want to program. But you have to actually make yourself do it. An analogy I think of is like, in the morning when you don't want to get out of bed, but then at night when you don't want to get into bed, it's like all morning when you get up, you're just like, man, I want to go back to sleep. But at night where it's like you finally can sleep, you're like, I don't want to, I want to just stay awake. You're fighting the thing that that you actually want to do. This is what discipline can help deal with, because discipline is where I really don't want to do this thing, but I know that I have to. So you have to make yourself do it. Either time box it, or put yourself in a specific place, or come up with some sort of system that helps you. I like to avoid the reward style system. I know some people, this works for them, where they're like, if I get this thing programmed today, I get to go out and, have like ice cream or something. I don't like that. It doesn't work for me, but it might work for you. But I found that time boxing it or limiting it to a place can kind of help with this. But I think the most important thing is to remember that discipline and motivation, they are different. So when you get motivated to do something, that's not going to make you disciplined. I'm sorry. There is no amount of motivation in the world. There's no amount of scrolling on social media that's going to make you sit down and do work. In fact, I would say that the more you scroll, the less you're going to want to. You're draining that battery. That battery that allows you to scroll is also the thing that allows you to be disciplined. It's just your energy in general. And you will be depleting one. The more motivation you take in, you might actually be depleting from your discipline. So you have to watch that. You have to be like, okay, I know I can go find something new and novel and exciting, on my phone or my computer or whatever, but I have to focus on the thing I want to get done. And you can find people to be motivated by. I know some people find me motivating on my social media, and I don't think that's a problem. I think that's totally fine because I do work really hard at my discipline. I edit videos. I try to have them out on a somewhat consistent basis, but I like to see projects to the end. When I work on music, I compile them into albums and release those albums onto Spotify. When I work on code, I document them, give real world examples, make videos about them, and publish them to GitHub. Like, I have my definition of done. I know when a project's done, and I love driving it past that finish line. That wasn't always the case, all right? It's hard to get things over that finish line. I understand that. I respect that. But man, that feeling of finishing something, putting your stamp on it, and then being able to push it aside, no longer having it be a cognitive load on your brain, you can take that anxiety of a looming project and put it to bed because it's gone. That feeling is the reason to do it, okay? That feeling alone, just to know that you've done a project and you have seen it through to the end, that's amazing. So, I mean, look at what's happening right now. I'm turning this into a motivational speech. And I hope this is motivating, but I hope you do something about that motivation. Sit down, come up with a plan and be like, what helps me stay disciplined? And for everyone, it's going to be a little bit different. It's going to look a little bit different, and that's okay. What motivates you might not motivate someone else. What keeps you disciplined might not keep someone else disciplined. That's okay. That's normal. Don't try to fit into someone else's shoes that don't work for you, okay? Find what works for you. It won't be easy. Don't expect it to be easy, but the more you do it, the easier it becomes. It's like lifting weights. The weights don't get lighter, you get stronger. So when it comes to discipline, these tasks don't get easier, but you get better at putting yourself in that mindset and being able to just knock out a task. Where it might take, hours to accomplish a task, you can get that down to maybe an hour or a half hour or 20 minutes. I'm not saying accomplishing the task, but get ready to go into the mindset where you can do something. And next thing you know, the amount of procrastination you do just goes down. Beyond this, there can be reasons outside of your control that are going to affect you here. I don't have this, but I have a couple of friends that are ADHD, and they have to approach things slightly differently than me. I seem to have a really good control over my executive function, and I'm incredibly thankful for that. It took a lot of work, but I also don't seem to suffer from any sort of mental illness or condition that would stop me from doing that. But for my friends out there that have like ADHD or something that can prevent you from doing this, this is the heavy news, but you already know this. You got to figure out a way to deal with it. Because once you get a diagnosis, once you know that that's what you have, it's still your responsibility to live your life with it. And that sucks and that can be harsh, but it's yours. It's your disorder. You have to live with it now. So learn coping mechanisms, learn how to deal with it. If that includes medication, then go for it. Work with a doctor, figure out what kind of meds you can get on that works for you. That's just another example of find what works for you. Take the responsibility of it in your hands, take full responsibility of it, and then you can work through it and you can figure out what you need to do. So yeah, hopefully that helps you stay disciplined.